Let's go.
R-Type is one of the biggest and most popular shmup series of all time, and Leo is undoubtedly its most controversial entry. Originally developed by Irem's parent company, Nanao, R-Type Leo wasn't always an R-Type game. It was originally a wholly unique game with its own name and branding, but legend says Irem rebranded it to R-Type late in production out of fear that the game wouldn't sell without recognizable franchise credibility. Due to this, and the fact that the game is quite a deviation from classic R-Type gameplay and lore, Leo serves as a bit of a black sheep in the eyes of many R-Type fans. But if I'm being totally honest here, it's hands down my favorite game in the franchise by a country mile, and I'll explain why. Leo ditches the famous force pod mechanic that R-Type introduced in favor of a new mechanic called Cybits. Gone are the Bido Empire, replaced instead by Major, a computer in charge of managing a man-made paradise planet called Eden. Major goes out of control and tries to eliminate all of mankind, thus the R9 Leo is sent to destroy Major and the entire planet with it. At first glance, Leo barely looks, feels, or sounds like an R-Type game. The music is upbeat, the graphics are bold and colorful, and the gameplay is faster paced and much less punishing than classic R-Type. But I'd argue all of these things are just kind of genuine positives. It's not that I don't enjoy the old school R-Type games, or even some of the newer ones, but a game that streamlines the power-up system, speeds up the gameplay, and gets rid of checkpoints just checks my boxes. So let's dig into this beginner's guide to R-Type Leo. Alright, diving right in here. So I actually started playing R-Type Leo because after I played all of the Darius games, I was looking for more games of a kind of similar era, of a similar feel, and I was in an arcade. I saw R-Type Leo. The graphics were incredible, the music was incredible, and the gameplay was really fun. It was just like a really cool 90s hoary, kind of before things started to go into that pre-rendered CG or just like fully 3D era. It's all classic pixel art. And I got hooked. So yeah, it is quite a bit different from the other R-Type games for sure. I just don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So if you're going to pick up this game and give it a shot, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that there are two versions. There's Revision D, which is the world version, and there's Revision, I believe it's C, which is the Japan version. You're really going to want to play the world version of this game, or the international version. It's just better in every way. There's two main differences. One of them is that if you're playing the Japan version, you tap the button to shoot and you hold it to send out the Cybits. Those are the options on either side of your ship. Whereas if you're playing the international version, you have a button for shot and a button for sending out and recalling your Cybits separately. So it gives you a lot more control. It feels way more natural. And on top of that, the international version doesn't have checkpoints. The Japanese version does, and believe it or not, the checkpoints, not only do they kill the flow and pacing of this game and reset the music, which sucks, they also make the game significantly easier. And this already isn't an incredibly hard game, so it's really disappointing because you don't have to learn recovery if you're playing that version. You just kind of get sent back, you can power back up and get through the section that you just died in. So yeah, international version all the way. Definitely. Now, these Cybits, the options above and below the R9 Leo, are really, really important. They basically, any colored power-up, the first time you pick it up, it's going to give you these options with a regular shot. Once you've got them, if you pick up another colored power-up, it's going to give you that weapon, and you pick it up again, it'll power up that weapon once. So once you've collected 3 colored power-ups of any kind, you should be at max power. And then at any point, you can pick a different colored power-up and you can swap over to it. So you can see here, I'm going to be using red for most of the playthrough. It shoots out an optic laser, and it's just like the highest DPS concentrated. And if I move backwards, the options will shoot forwards. If I move forwards, the options will shoot behind me. Now, the moment I press the Cybit button, those Cybits are going to fly off and home in on whatever's on screen, sometimes splitting apart. And they are extremely powerful. Now, there is a meter you're going to notice on the bottom left of the screen, and that kind of determines how far they will become active for and how long they'll be active. So a fully charged one is going to deal the most damage, move the farthest. It's good stuff. Now, the main thing with this game is that you're going to want to use this a lot. You're going to want to use the Cybit as much as possible. Your main shot is also quite powerful, even though you will be shooting like a red laser, or if you switch to green, you'll be shooting these kind of green pulses, or blue will be shooting a blue pulse. You're always underneath it shooting your regular shot. You just can't always see it. So that is like really high DPS, and it's really powerful, so you do want to make sure you're taking advantage of that, but the Cybits are just really versatile. Now, these first two levels aren't anything crazy. They're pretty straightforward. Again, I'm just sticking to red because I just need to be dealing as much damage as possible. Another thing, as far as setting up this game, you can just have a button with 30 Hz auto fire and a button for the Cybits. If you want, you can play without auto fire. It doesn't make a huge difference. These bosses have very little health anyways. It's kind of surprising how easy they are. I actually did a test. I did a run without auto fire and a run with, and like the bosses were dying in the same amount of time. There is a shot limit, so that's probably helping. So here we go. Stage 3 is kind of where things start get cooking. I'm going to swap over to green. There you can see a good example of, you can actually see the regular shot underneath the green shot there. That's always there. I should also mention, I only ever collect one speed power-up. You can, I think, stack up to 5 of them. That I don't recommend. When you're moving really fast in this game, it can be pretty tricky to stay on top of things and to be avoiding obstacles, because even though people say, oh, this is barely an R-Type game, it still, to me, has a lot of R-Type flavor, and you get a lot of that in, I think, Stage 5. But even here, there's a lot of obstacles and enemies that you're dealing with. And so I'm switching to green in this stage because there's just a lot of things coming from the top and bottom and coming from all angles. And you'll see here I can kind of hook shots around to deal with some of these things. But also at any point, even if I don't have the green power-up, I can just use the Cybits. Another really important element of those Cybits is that they have collision. Like, they will stop bullets from hitting you. So when you release them, they're really powerful, but when you keep them on you, they're actually a really good defensive tool. So you can kind of push through huge waves of bullets to, you know, kind of like make yourself, it's like a constant shield. In some ways, very similar to the Force Pod in R-Type. Now, in terms of scoring, I did just get the first extend. So you get an extend at 300,000 points and at 700,000 points. And then that's it. Oh, you also pick up the missile power-up, and you'll see it'll launch missiles above and below you, and they do home. Now, this boss is, I think it was the first boss that gave me any kind of trouble. You have to coax that fire snake out of the top thing. You have to coax that and pay attention to it because it'll keep homing on you, and you kind of need to guide it. And it's not synced perfectly to the laser that's shooting out, so you have to be careful of that. But once you figure that out, and once you making sure that you're using your Cybits as a defensive tool for the bullets being sprayed down on you, that you can figure that out. This stage, again, I am swapping to green right at the start. It can be very useful here. I love the music in this stage. It's like my favorite track in the game, one of my favorite video game tracks, period. Now, there's a lot of bullets here on screen, and it can pile up if you don't take out the enemies quickly, but they're very slow moving, so it's not the worst thing in the world, and you do have, of course, the side bits to stop those bullets if you do get overwhelmed. You'll practically push into them. You'll see there, I'm just using them to stop the bullets. Now here, you want to stay on the left side of the screen. You don't want to push over because those things are going to pop out. You want to deal with them with your side bit. Whereas here, you want to move to the right side of the screen. And for the rest of this kind of cave sequence, you do want to stay right. You want to keep going over those little stalactites or stalagmites or whatever they are, and sticking to the right side. You're just going to use some nice tap dodging here to allow your side bits to protect you from those bullets. And then we're going to deal with a stream of enemies that are going to be pouring in from the top. Tap dodging constantly to avoid getting overwhelmed, but again, you can use your side bits to defend from bullets. So I meant to actually pick up the red there, but it's not a huge deal. And this is not, like... I actually started playing this game on my Retroid Pocket 2S, which I will be hopefully getting a review out for soon. And all that to say that, like, I was playing it handheld. This is my like second 1cc, and even on like a kind of like laggy little handheld, it's very manageable because recovery in this game is good. It's it's surprisingly good for a 90s shooter. Okay, here there's a little bit of RNG. Trying to shoot these two things, and they'll either go like the right one will go up, the left one will go down, or the opposite. I got lucky here in that I got the RNG that I wanted. This can be a tricky boss just because you do need to pay attention to those spurts of bullets that are coming at you from both ends, and of course, if you don't kill it fast enough, it'll start doing another attack. But it doesn't change behavior; it just keeps doing that over and over. So if you can just really get that damage in from the get-go, you can deal with that boss pretty quickly. I don't even have time to talk about the bosses, they die so quick. So this level, I think, to me, this feels like classic R-Type, and it has that flavor of classic R-Type. It's just faster and honestly a little peppier. So, I mean, I could also see that this feels a little bit maybe like Gradius or Gradius or however you pronounce that. But yeah, so you can see here I'm trying to just like take out these rotating blocks early, and then I'm trying to use my side bits to defend me. That was actually a silly mistake that I made, and it's one of those things where it's like, that's the first time I've made that mistake. You can see here, recovery is not the worst. Again, taking advantage of the fact that I didn't speed myself up is, you know, that I did that for sections like this, where there's a lot of fine movement that you need, and you don't want to be zipping around the screen, and you really don't need to in this game. And look at that, I'm pushing through the waves of bullets by using my side bits. You can see, this was a little spaghetti, but like I figured it out because the game is actually quite generous. So this section here, I really like using the laser because you can just cut through all these obstacles here. It just helps. You can actually destroy these things before they start spawning stuff, but it's a little tricky. You have to be in place for it. Here, it's easy to get overwhelmed with all these enemies, so try to work your way through them slowly as they move to the bottom of the screen. And again, take advantage of your side bit. So yeah, I'm using that laser to just carve through here and give myself some space. Now I'm out. That section's over. You can just use your reverse shot to like deal with these guys who are going to spawn behind you. It's not a big deal. And then you can use your side bit to take out these guys on the moving platforms, these kind of elevators. Now this boss, I think for me this was probably the trickiest boss in the game, at least upon first playing it. You need to get into a rhythm where you're moving up and then pulling away in time with when it's firing those lasers and when it's moving over to firing shots, synchronized to the background, these moving platforms. And if you want, you can deal extra damage by firing at your side bit more often. It's not necessary. Your shot does a ton of damage. But you just need to watch out for these platforms, and they'll be changing direction. And I will say you can find a safe spot at the bottom of the screen, but you can also easily get yourself trapped and then have to deal with the platform coming up from the bottom and hitting you, or vice versa. So that's done. Final stage here. Get right in there. Be careful about these pulsating egg sacs, because if you just haphazardly shoot everything, they'll just fill the screen with bullets. So you have to understand how they're going to come out. It's not so bad though, because they're very slow moving bullets. I need to switch to green here, and yeah, I pull it off. So this is a segment that's a little tricky. You want to stay in this first area and coax out these bullets that are these aim bullets that are going to be shot at you. And then once you're at this area, make sure you're sticking with green, and you can just stay in that little square, tap dodging back, and you'll take care of all the enemies. Move forward when you're safe, and then deal with all the egg sacs. Now these, I don't know what you'd call those, like kind of gates that you go through, they activate what's going to happen in the next room. So keep that in mind as you're moving through. There is a little safe spot here, so you want to push through and then go down into that little safe spot. Let your green shot do the work, and then let your side bit take care of those enemies across the wall. Again, so I'm going to activate this, take out those turrets, activate this, go up there, take out those turrets, do that again. And I'm letting my green shot really do some work here, because it's going to help me take cover while I'm dealing a ton of damage. Oh, and I completely forgot that I got my other extend, so I'm at 3 lives. But I actually took an extra speed power up, I think, back there. I'm moving a lot faster than I would like to, and you can see it's a little jerky, and it's a little tricky in sections like this. When you have too much speed, it can be quite dangerous. So I'm pretty, like, I wouldn't say panicked, but I'm definitely playing at full speed here. Well, not even full. But I can use that to my advantage in this segment here. So these guys are really annoying. Because I've got extra speed, I can chase them to take down those bottoms. Otherwise, you might want to just hit the first one and then use your side bits. This one as well, you actually can't chase this unless you have this much speed. Otherwise, those lasers will get you, and it stomps on the enemy anyways. So I was honestly relieved to have it stomp on me and take a life, because I could go back down to base speed. So I'll get 1 speed power up to get me up to where I like to be speed-wise. And then, yeah, we've got, this is like the final room. You kind of just have to blast through here. If you're, you can see the pattern of those exploding egg sacs. It's not the worst. I'm moving again back to red. So yeah, you want to take one of these out as quickly as you can. Again, stupid mistake there. I actually just backed into it. I'd never done that before, but I decided to do that for this run. But again, the power is really in your base shot here. You just want to get right up in this guy's face and take advantage of your side bits. Ability to block bullets, because they will block those bullets. Be careful of the lasers as they come out. You'll see the tell. You need to get out of the way. And here's basically the same thing again, but it's with some egg sacs that are kind of homing and exploding and moving out at again, the same angles, but they're kind of a little offset. Bam, done. So yeah, I hope this helps in, if you're trying to learn this game, trying to give it a shot. I really do recommend giving this game a shot if you like, I don't know, games like Darius or Metal Black, things like that. It's beautiful. Like, look at the pixel art. It's fantastic. The soundtrack is so good. It's a meme, and it's not that hard. It's a kind of a breezy playthrough. I really enjoy it. I might even try to do a no miss just because it was that fun. You can really just pick it up and dive in. And it was the last arcade R-Type game. they never did another one after. They only did home console games after this. And for whatever reason, this has only been ported to like some dodgy PC collections and like a not so good Japan only plug and play console. It hasn't seen release on console. I thought maybe it would be released as part of this IRIM collection. They've only announced, I think, 2 volumes so far, and Leo is not included yet, but there's 5 to come, apparently. I would love to see Leo played by more people. I definitely recommend it. Super easy to emulate, super easy to check out. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've played R-Type Leo, if you think it's a real R-Type game or not. And keep shmupping.